Okay, everyone. So welcome to the third through fifth grade end of grade boot camp. This is being recorded on May 1st. We don't currently have anyone logged into the live session, so I will keep going forward. It'll be a little abbreviated until we have someone join us. So I will go ahead. Today, we usually would have our welcome and warm up, but since we don't have anyone joining us live, we will skip that. Then we'll work on math for about 20-25 minutes, then take a break. And if you're watching the recording, you're always welcome to pause it, take a break, or rewatch the content as you need it. Then we'll work on ELA or language arts. And if we have people joining us today, maybe someone will join a little later, it will save time for homework help. All right, so we'll skip this warm up for now. We'll go into the math portion of today's session. We have a problem that would be a good review or challenge for anyone who is a rising third, fourth, fifth grader, rising sixth grader as well. And this portion of the math review is all about measurement. So take a look at both of the questions. I'm going to stop talking to let you have a little bit of think time, and then we'll work through the solution together. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to at least read the problems. And if you're not ready to see the solution, you can pause the video and work it out on your own. This first question is for third graders. It says, what is the temperature? Here we have a thermostat. It's not a digital thermometer. It's analog. So we have the numbers on the side, these tick marks that tell us how far up the thermometer we have to go to reach a particular temperature. So what you'll do is the red shaded portion is what we want to pay attention to and do our very best to estimate where the red portion stops and see what temperature that would be. So to help us, I'm going to start drawing on my screen. Let me get something that I think will be easy for us all to see. So I'm going to draw a little line where the red portion of the thermometer stops. And it looks like that line goes right up to about 50. Now we want to make sure we pay attention to the units that are on this thermometer. And if you look at the very, very top of the graph, you'll see that it's in degrees Fahrenheit. Now, there are some thermometers that measure temperature in Celsius, and even some that measure really, really hot or really, really cold temperatures in a unit called Kelvin. So if you see this type of question on a quiz or your end of year test, just do your best. You can draw with your pencil to see where the line ends. Look at the number, then make sure you check the unit at the very top. All right. So the next problem is also a measurement problem, but it's a little bit more challenging. It's for our fourth and fifth graders who are on the call or watching the review session. It says, which is a better estimate for the weight of a cement truck? Ooh, a cement truck. Now, cement trucks are huge. They are very, very big, very, very heavy. And you'll notice they're trying to make this problem tricky. They gave us two options, 21 pounds and 21 tons. Now we can't just look at the number and see which number is bigger because it's the same number, 21 and 21. So they're testing us to see if we remember what our units, pounds and tons, represent, okay? So take a moment and see if you can think of objects that weigh about a pound or objects that weigh tons. And I'll type a little hint on the screen. A pound is smaller than a ton. Okay, a pound is smaller than a ton. See if you can pick which unit of measurement would be best. All right, so hopefully you've had a moment to think about it. When comparing 21 pounds, which are much, 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 much smaller than 21 tons, it would be best to estimate the weight of a cement truck in terms of tons, 21 tons, okay? 21 pounds would be a couple bushels of bananas. You could probably carry that on a couple trips, but 21 tons is massive, and I don't know anyone who could carry that, all right? So you can take a moment to copy down some notes if you'd like. You can pause it if you need to take a look at the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and clear up all my drawings and go on to the next slide. Okay, clear up the drawings. Go on to the next slide. Okay, so we're still working on the topic of measurement. This will come up in every grade, every time you take the end of year assessment. There will be a problem that deals with measurement. So I'm going to stop talking, give you a moment of think time, and then we'll talk about it together. All right, so this first problem says, move the ruler to measure the length of the slug to the nearest inch. Now I already moved the ruler for us since we're working virtually, but a quick tip, whenever you're measuring an object, you have to make sure that the end of the object lines up with the end of the ruler. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Let me grab a little line. So here's the end of the ruler. We start at 0. You want to make sure it's lined up with the edge of the object. So we're measuring the entire object correctly. And they ask us to measure to the nearest inch. This is a ruler that's measuring in inches, as you can see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. It's a 6-inch ruler. And let's see where our slug ends, okay? I think I'm gonna have to move that over just a little bit. And it looks like of all of the inches that are labeled on this ruler, the nearest inch happens to be a 3. If we picked a 2, it would be too small. We wouldn't be measuring the entire slug. If we picked a 4, it would be way too big. So if you had to estimate it, I would say this length is about 3 inches long. This slug has a length of about 3 inches long. So you can take a moment to pause the video if you need to write down some notes, and then take a look at the second problem on the screen. Okay, so this problem is very similar to the last challenge problem we had on the previous slide. It's asking us, which is a better estimate for the length of a TV remote? They gave us 2 options, but they're still kind of challenging, 7 yards or 7 inches. So you'll notice, again, they want to test us and make it more difficult by giving us the same number, 7 and 7. So we can't just pick the bigger number. We have to look very closely at the answer choices. They said 7 yards versus 7 inches. Okay, so we have to remember. Take a moment and see if you can remember which is bigger, yards or inches. So I'll put a note on the screen that could help us. Yards are bigger than inches. Okay. And remember what they're asking us to estimate the length of. I'll highlight it in the question. they want us to estimate the length of a TV remote. TV remotes are pretty small. They're usually about this big, maybe this big if it's very large. It's small enough to hold in your hand. Okay. So which of those measurements is smaller, 7 yards or 7 inches? So 7 inches would be the smaller of the two measurements and a better estimate of a TV remote. And you can try it at home. If you have a ruler at home, you can measure the TV remote, okay? And I think we just had someone join. Let me see who that is. That's Ezra. Welcome, Ezra. What I'll do is I'll turn your mic on. It's just you and I on the call. So if you want to participate, you're welcome to unmute yourself and talk, or you can just type in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. Okay, we still have a couple more math problems, and then we'll do the language arts portion. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And Ezra, if you want to watch the earlier portion, it will be recorded if you want to see the problems that you missed. Okay, so here's a challenge problem. It's a great review for all grade levels. I'll give you a moment to try it on your own, and then when you think you've got something, you can type it in the chat, or you can just tell me it. Okay, so I'll stop talking and let you work for a moment. So this is a little bit of a riddle that works with place values. And when you think you've got something, you can type in the chat or unmute yourself, or you can tell me if you want a hint and we can work through it together.
I need a little bit help.
Okay, awesome. All right, so this is what I will do. Let's see if that helps. So they said, what number has 5 tens and 3 fewer ones than tens? Okay, so it's a bit of a riddle. They're trying to challenge you. I'm going to draw something on the board that may help a little bit to push you in the right direction. Okay, so I'm sure you remember we have our ones place on the right, and then our tens place to the left of it. So we're working with a 10-digit number. I'm sorry, a 2-digit number. Ezra, can you see what I drew on the screen?
Yes.
And they told us, I'll highlight it in the problem, what number has 5 tens? Okay, so we can figure out part of the number just with that. In our tens place, we need to put a 5. So I'll go ahead and put a 5 in our tens place. And then I'm going to see if you can figure out the rest of the number on your own. Take a moment and think about it. And then we can finish it together. And Ezra, it's okay if you'd like another hint. You can ask for another hint if you like that.
Okay.
You want another hint?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So you'll notice the last part of the question is saying, and 3 fewer ones than tens. Okay. One of the challenges of word problems is sometimes they don't tell you exactly what they want you to do. They use words that may not be as direct or as clear. So if you see the word fewer, it means you need to do subtraction. You may see less than, less, fewer, and that lets you know we have to do some type of subtraction. Now we need to know what numbers we need to subtract. It says 3 fewer ones than tens, okay? So the number in our ones place will be 3 fewer or 3 less than the number in our tens place. So that means in order to figure out what number goes right here, we'll do 5 minus 3. And what would that be, Ezra?
2.
2, perfect. So I'll put that in. Okay. And that's the answer. All right, now you may be wondering, well, why didn't they just tell me to do subtraction? Well, part of this problem is they want to test a couple different things. First, how well can you read the problem? Secondly, do you remember your place value models? And thirdly, do you know how to figure out what words like fewer mean and figure out what type of math problem you need to write to solve it? Okay. So that was a really good problem. Thank you for working through it and not giving up. I'll give you a moment to copy down anything if you want, and then you let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide. You can come off mute and tell me, or type in the chat when you're ready to move on. Done. Perfect. Okay, so let me clear off these drawings. Clear it off. Here's another math problem. Take a moment to read it, and then you can let me know if you've got the answer or if you'd like a hint. So I'm going to be quiet and let you work. And Ezra, you are on mute in case you've tried to say anything. Not sure if you tried to ask a question.
I am done.
So what did you pick?
I picked Mr. Waston.
Perfect, perfect, awesome. Great job, great job. So what if I'd asked you which teacher has the least computers? Who would you pick?
I would pick Mr. Tan.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. Now I'm gonna try and make it even more challenging. Okay. How many more computers does Mr. Watson have than Miss Murphy?
It just all you gotta do is say.
Already, but Callie was calling.
Don't worry about that. I'll call her.
I was trying to figure out which letter.
And Ezra, would you like me to repeat the question or write it on the screen for you?
And yeah, write it up.
Okay, I'll do that too. That'll be easier for you. So let me get my typing tool. Okay. How many more computers does Mr. Watson have than Miss Murphy? Okay. So it's a little challenging, but I know you can do it, okay? So I wrote it in orange. Can you see that, Ezra?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Take a moment and try that. I think one of our students may have dropped. I will go ahead and finish off this problem, and then hopefully they can rejoin us. So if a question asks you how many more computers, how many more, lets us know we need to do some type of subtraction, takeaways, a comparison. And they said, how many more computers does Mr. Watson have than Miss Murphy? You'll see Mr. Watson had the most computers, 18. Miss Murphy had the second most computers, 14. So we can do, let me get my marker. We can do 18 minus 14. And we'll see that that is 4. So Mr. Watson has 4 more computers than Miss Murphy. Another way you could do it, maybe you prefer drawing a number line. So I'll make a little number line at the top of my screen, and you could do this on a test as well if that helps you. Oops, let me get a different color. I've got my number line right there. I will put a little dot right here for Miss Watson. Oh, sorry, for Miss Murphy. And she has 14 computers. And I know Mr. Murphy has, sorry, Mr. Watson has 18 computers. And you can skip from 14 to 18 and see how many times you had to skip. You can do 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. So that was +1, +2, +3, +4. So Mr. Watson had 4 more computers than Miss Murphy. All right. So you can take a moment to copy down some notes if you need, pause the video, and then I will clear off my drawings and go on to the next slide. Okay. So usually this is when we'll take a break. If you're watching the recording, you are welcome to take a break whenever you need and just pause it. But I will skip this slide and go on to our ELA portion of today. So let me pull up our first topic. Okay. We will work on theme. And let me sign in real quickly, Scholar. So at the moment, we don't currently have anyone on the live recording of this. So what I recommend is you pause the video right here, read the passage, and then try to answer the questions on your own. And then you can listen to me read it and talk through the answers. We'll go ahead and start. So it says, The Fox and the Stork. There once was a clever fox who loved playing tricks. He invited his friend the stork over for dinner one day. When dinner was served, the poor bird saw that the meal was soup served in a flat dish. Try as she might, the stork could not drink the soup with her long, thin beak. I'm sorry you aren't enjoying the dinner, the fox said, laughing to himself over his trick. Oh, it's no problem at all, the stork said, acting very polite. You must join me for dinner next time. Soon the stork invited the fox to her house for dinner. The fox had worked hard all day and was very hungry. But when the stork brought out the food, the fox got a surprise. The dinner was served in tall, narrow jars. With her long beak, the stork had no trouble gobbling up the tasty food. The fox's mouth did not fit in the jar, so he went home hungry. All right. Okay, so I think Ezra rejoined. Let me check real quick. Okay, so Ezra, welcome back. Okay, so I'll turn your mic back on. I'm sorry you dropped from the call. Okay. So you can take a moment to read this passage. And then let me know when you're ready to talk about the question. So I'll give you a chance to read it. And you can type in the chat or come off mute once you've had a chance to read it.
I think I got it.
All right, all right. So what did you think of the story, Ezra? And I think you put yourself back on mute. You can stay off mute since it's just you and I.
So, what I thought of the story was it was like about what it was like about. It was about like when they so first it started off with the clever fox who made a dinner, and he had like a bird friend or something, and it was called a stork, but the stork could not eat this soup. So then fox said he was sorry that the stork wasn't really enjoying the dinner because the stork couldn't drink the soup. And so then the stork um made a dinner, and then Fox was invited. And then it said about how Fox had a long day and stuff. So then when Stork brought out the food, the fox was surprised of the food, and he was gobbling a lot of the food that the um stork gave it. But it was also in tall tall jar. It was in served in a tall jar with narrow. It was wait. It was served in a tall jar that was narrow, and but Fox couldn't really fit his mouth through it, so he just went back home hungry.
Yeah, he went back home hungry. Now, Ezra, have you ever seen a stork before? Do you know what they look like?
No, but I think it's like the bird with the big beak or something.
Really, really long beak. And have you seen
Oh,
a fox before? Do you know what a fox looks like?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are very, very different types of animals. They have completely different mouths, right? And they were playing tricks on each other, okay? Has anyone ever played a trick on you, like a sibling or a friend? Have you ever had a trick played on you?
Yes.
Yes, and did you like having a trick played on you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you liked it? Okay, did you want to play a trick back on them?
Yes, I did it.
Yeah, so you played a trick back on them. All right, great. Great job kind of summarizing what was in the story. And it's so funny that you wanted to play a trick back on the friend, just like the stork played a trick back on the fox. Okay, so you see here, they're asking us a question at the bottom. Okay, and it says, what is the main theme or lesson of the fable? And what you just read, The Fox and the Stork, is a fable by Aesop. It's a very, very old short story. They're usually, make believe. They have animals who are the characters. And the whole point of the story or the fable is to teach people a lesson. Okay, so they don't have to go through it in their own life. They can just read the story and learn from the mistake. So they gave you two options for the best theme or lesson of the fable. Now, Ezra, which of these options do you think was the lesson the author wanted us to learn?
I think it's the first one.
It's the first one. And do you mind reading both of those options out loud for us?
Even though people are different, they could still be friends.
Okay, yeah, that is true. And read the second option for us as well.
Expect others to treat you the way you treat them.
Now, what do you think they mean by that? What does that mean, Ezra?
I think that they mean like they want so they mean like so you did something wrong to a person, then sometimes they will do something wrong to you, but then you don't want them to do that. So what you do is that you would do the right thing to them, and then they will do the right thing to you, and they'll treat you like how you treat them. But if you treat them bad, they're going to treat you like how you did it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they mean. If you treat someone badly, don't be surprised if they treat you badly as well. If you treat someone nicely, don't be surprised if they treat you nicely. And if you play a trick on someone, don't be surprised if they play a trick back on you. Now, you originally picked the first option. One of the challenges of these type of questions is both of the options kind of make sense. But there's one that's slightly better, slightly more specific. Okay? What do you think the author wanted us to learn? Is this a story about friendship or a story about treatment?
I think it's like friendship or something like that.
So the fox and the stork, they're friends. They're really good friends. They're inviting each other over to dinner. But what's happening within their friendship? Are they being nice to each other? Are they playing tricks on each other? Are they being mean to each other?
They are playing tricks on each other, but they're also treating them the right way.
Okay, how are they treating each other the right way?
They're treating them like so even though stork can't eat what fox eating, and fox can't eat what stork was eating since he couldn't fit his mouth through it, and stork couldn't drink the soup because his big beak. They still didn't like be mean to each other just because they couldn't do something that they could do.
I like that, Ezra. That's great. That's great. Okay. Now tell me, why do you think the second option is wrong? Why do you disagree?
I think the second option is wrong because so it says that expect others to treat you the way that they treat you. You treat them, but what? But like it was asking about the fox and the fox and the fox and the stork, and how they treated them was about how they treated them, which was they played tricks on each other. They didn't make fun of each other just because they could do this, but their other friend cannot do that either.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to highlight something. And I see we have another person in the chat. We have Aya. Welcome, Aya. I'm going to turn your mic on and you can type in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't notice when you joined, but we're just talking through this passage. It's a fable about a fox and a stork, and we're trying to figure out the main lesson of the fable. Okay. So Ezra was just talking about why she doesn't agree with the second option. Thank you so much, Ezra, for explaining your thoughts. And I'm going to see Aya. Are you able to see the passage that we're looking at?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And Aya, remind me, what grade are you in?
Third grade.
Third grade. And am I saying your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. How about this? Because I'm not sure what you read or what you could hear when you joined. I'm going to read this passage really quickly, and then all three of us can talk about the question together. So it's called The Fox and the Stork. Let me zoom in real quick. It says, there once was a clever fox who loved playing tricks. He invited his friend the stork over for dinner one day. When dinner was served, the poor bird saw that the meal was soup served in a flat dish. Try as she might, the stork could not drink the soup with her long, thin beak. I'm sorry you aren't enjoying the dinner, the fox said, laughing to himself over his trick. Oh, it's no problem at all, the stork said, acting very polite. You must join me for dinner next time. Soon the stork invited the fox to her house for dinner. The fox had worked hard all day and was very hungry. But when the stork brought the food out, the fox got a surprise. The dinner was served in tall, narrow jars. With her long beak, the stork had no trouble gobbling up the tasty food. The fox's mouth did not fit in the jar, so he went home hungry. Okay, so just a quick tip, if you're taking a reading quiz at school or you're taking a really important test, you'll want to read the passage multiple times to make sure you didn't miss any details. Okay, so Ezra told me she agrees with the first option, that even though people are different, they can still be friends. That's what she thinks the main lesson is. Aya, what do you think the main lesson is? And you can unmute yourself or type in the chat. Option 1, I'll label it here. Here's option 1, here's option 2. What do you think, Aya?
2.
I think it's 2. Okay. So we have a little bit of a disagreement, so let's talk about it a little bit more closely. Okay. One thing I will say, both of these statements are true. Even though people are different, they can still be friends. The stork and fox are very different types of animals, but they have a really fun friendship. And the second option, expect others to treat you the way you treat them, is true as well. The fox played a trick on the stork, and the stork played a trick back. Okay? So when both of these options are true, you want to pick the one that's a bit more specific, or has more evidence, or has more details in the story. Okay, and I'll highlight some of the details that support either option. So let me scroll up just a little bit, and then I will let y'all go because I know I'm keeping you a few minutes over. Okay, so here, okay, the fox was laughing about his trick, but the stork acted very polite and said, you must join me for dinner next time. Okay. The fox came over to the stork's house and was very hungry because the fox believed they would be able to eat. Okay. The fox got a surprise. The dinner was served in tall, narrow jars, and his mouth could not fit. Okay. So the point of the story, the author is named Aesop. He doesn't think the fox should have been surprised that he couldn't eat because the fox, a few days before, played a trick on the stork. Okay, so I'm going to click the second option, okay, and submit it. And then I will let you all go. Let me clear off this drawing. Okay, so quick tip, whenever you're doing stories like this, read it a couple times. If you're at home, read it out loud to yourself. You can draw on the passage to highlight the important details. And always make sure you read all of the options and think about them closely before you pick. Okay, so that is all that I have for you all today. Ezra and Aya, I really enjoyed working with you. And Aya, I think you raised your hand.